Let's welcome Ted Janusz.
Thank you. Thank you. That was a great segue, Patrick. I would like this to be about you. In fact, to show you how different this is going to be, if you could kindly stand up and come to the front of the room. Stand up and come to the room. Now don't worry, this is safe. You won't have to embarrass yourself. You won't have to sing or dance or exercise or do anything strenuous. Just getting up out of those chairs will get the blood flowing. There's just 2 questions. In fact, there's no right or wrong answers to these questions. It's just what's true for you most of the time, okay? Here's question number 1. Do you tend to be laid back, easygoing, go with the flow, don't worry, be happy? Or are you more driven and focused and goal-oriented and determined? I know you could go either way, but overall, where would you find yourself? Okay, that's question number 1. Question number 2. Do you tend to like to work by yourself on tasks and projects? Are you more of an individualist, more of a loner? Or do you really have to be around other people to bring out your best efforts? Okay? 2 questions. Any questions on the questions? No. Okay. Those people who like to work primarily by yourself on tasks and projects, and you're more laid back, easygoing, if you could raise your hand, please. Okay, if we could have you over in this section right here. For each group, I need a scribe. It's a very safe job being a scribe because you don't have to think. Group number 2, you're laid back, easygoing, but you like to be with people. Your hands, please. Okay, if we could have you over here. Our next group, you like to work by yourself, but you're very driven, focused, goal-oriented. Your hands, please. Sit down over here now, move it. All right? And our final group, if I did this correctly, you're very outgoing, vivacious people, right? Go party. No, if you could go sit over here, please. Sit over here, okay? Yeah, these are driven like people. These are driven like to work by themselves, okay? And if you could please anoint a scribe. Okay, scribes, here is your assignment. Given our common behavioral style, you'll find out that you have similarities with the great people on your team. I'd like to have 2 lists, please. The first list are, what are some of our positive strengths? How have we been able to be so successful in our organizations, in our associations, as meeting planners? What are some of our good qualities? We'd like a nice long list of our positive strengths. All right, that's assignment number 1. Assignment number 2, what are some potential downsides, though? May or may not be true. Maybe once perhaps somebody circulated a nasty rumor about you. You know what I'm saying? So on one side, the pluses. On the other side, the not-so-pluses. Now, I'll give you a few minutes to get your list together. Then I'll tell you what I think are on your list. We'll compare and contrast. We'll see how close I came. And then we'll talk about why we did the exercise. Now, something may come up and you could say, Ted, it could go either way. Put it in the first category as a positive strength. So scribes, any questions? Any questions? Like I said, just 2 lists, the pluses and the not-so-pluses. All right then, as they say in New Jersey, talk, talk, talk. The pluses and the not-so-pluses that you individually have and share. Now, if this were not a TED Talk, I'd love to give you more time. As a matter of fact, what I would do in the next part is I would go and interview each of the scribes and find out what your positive and not so positive characteristics are. Unfortunately, because we've got other speakers, I don't want to do that. I want to respect them. Let me tell you what I think the answers are. Okay? Our first group over here we call the analyticals. Now I can make fun of analyticals because I am one. I would be sitting among you. Analyticals, we have a high need to be right. We're very security conscious. Our mottos, notice, are efficiency. We cross every T, we dot every I, but we may be associated with analysis paralysis. We subscribe to Consumer Reports. Any famous analyticals come to mind besides yourselves? Can you think of any? Well, I asked my daughter who came home from college. She said, Sir Isaac Newton. I said, Newton, why Newton? She said, well, because of him we got physics and calculus. Or how about Dilbert from the comic strips? I saw this one strip recently where he's sitting behind his computer, marveling the technology. You know, the 35-inch monitor, the 500-gigabyte hard drive. He says, I feel a song coming on. People who don't need people are the happiest people. That would be an analytical. The motto of the analytical is get it right. Or ready, aim, 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 aim. Let's form a subcommittee, aim, fire. Now, my daughter, who I mentioned, is an analytical. She was the valedictorian of her high school class. She was the type of kid where at 2 in the morning, you'd have to knock on her bedroom door and say, Chelsea, that's enough homework for tonight, go to bed. Her older sister, who only graduated 5th in her class, said, Chelsea, once you get the A, quit. Now, Chelsea hasn't quite got the idea. Like I said, she came home on break and I said, honey, how's it going? She said, Dad, they run the university so well. Only an analytical would have answered the question that way. The normal 21-year-old said, Dad, parties are great. Well, maybe you wouldn't tell your old man that, but we analyticals, we just look at the world a little bit differently. We don't get caught up in the office gossip, who's having an affair with whom. No, we just keep our nose to the grindstone, we get the job done. And we get rewarded for doing good work by what? Getting more work to do, of course. We can't say no. And if we were an animal, it'd be something like a wise owl. In fact, I was at a seminar recently where the person speaking obviously was not an analytical because they called us Seymours. Seymour, yeah, no matter how much data you show an analytical, they always want to see more. Exactly. All right, so let's move on to our second style. Our second style is the amiable, relators. They're warm, sensitive, kind, compassionate. Analyticals are good listeners. Amiables are better listeners. They just want everyone to get along. Peace, love, harmony. Let's hold hands, sing Kumbaya. Amiables hate confrontation, and they'll go to extremes to avoid it. Any famous amiables come to mind besides this esteemed group here? Well, I think of Oprah, Martin Luther King, Kenny Rogers, Mr. Rogers. Marcus Welby, MD. Who remembers the TV doctor? Did you ever see him send out a bill? No! He was an amiable. The motto of the amiables, ready, ready, ready. You could almost hear Mr. Rogers saying this, couldn't you? Aim, fire. And if they were an animal, it'd be something like, oh, a golden retriever. Yes. All right, let's move on to our third style, the administrator. Bottom line, get it done, just the facts, don't mess around, show me the money. There's lots of famous administrators because, well, administrators get things done, and the world rewards results. Now, they may drive over their grandmothers to get things done, but they get things done. Any famous administrators come to mind? Well, I think of, it's still is unusual for me to say these words, President-elect Donald Trump. Yeah, how'd you like to be his apprentice? You're fired. Martha Stewart, Lee Iacocca, General Patton, Steven Spielberg, a director. On the downside, none of these wonderful people, but on the downside, administrators are associated with ulcers. They don't get them, in the extreme, they have a type A personality. Do you know what extreme type A personality is? It's actually an inner anger that tends to cut their lives short. They don't listen well, they lack tact, they're stubborn, their emphasis is on dominance, they have theme songs. Either hail to the chief, or I did it my way. Their mottos are just get her done, or ready, aim, fire, fire, fire. They don't take time to stop and smell the roses, and if they were an animal, it'd either be a pit bull or a lion. Now, the difference between us analyticals and the administrators, we analyticals like to work on one thing at a time and do it perfectly. Administrators, they're working on 18 things at a time, doing them all well. As a matter of fact, you reward an administrator to give them a 19th responsibility because they're very much into success and especially control. Control is important to an administrator. All right, our final style, the associator. Associators like people and things to be exciting and fun. They want to make the grand entrance. They want to be the center of attention. Generally speaking, associators are, well, generally speaking. And what are they generally speaking about? Their favorite subject, which is, they tend not to be as organized. They tend not to be into details. They have the big picture, the grand vision, and somebody like the analytical or administrator has to clean up after them. As a result, their motto is ready, fire, aim. Now, every group has their strengths. The way that associators are so effective is because they've got great charisma. People are just naturally attracted to them. Looks like they know where they're going. People want to come along for the ride. At least it's going to be fun. So they make great CEOs, great salespeople, great ambassadors, great motivators, great politicians. The motto of the associator is get appreciated or get noticed. As a result, their animal would be a? Yes, the associator. Okay, so let's put this all together. Once again, who has teenage sons and daughters? Who is still teenage sons and daughters? Okay, my teenage daughter Allison, if I would say up, she would say, if I would say right, she would say, well, sideways, but you get the idea. I thought maybe the issue was that she's a teenager and I'm not, or that she's female and I'm not. But what I realized was just a difference in behavioral styles. I, in case you haven't figured it out yet, am an analytical amiable. My daughter is an administrator associator. She's a lifeguard. The other day she was on the phone talking with one of her students. She, of course, was talking and he says, ouch. She continues to talk, he says, ouch. Finally, she said, okay, what's going on over there? He said, you are talking so loud, you are bursting my eardrum. That is my daughter. She does not have an inside voice. In fact, we could be at a sporting event. Allison could be on the side of the field and I could pick out her voice. Of course, she was the cheerleader. So, as an analytical amiable, I'd be saying to my daughter, as an administrator associator, honey, can you tone it down, smooth it out, chill a little bit? You know what she was probably thinking? Dad, when are you going to get a backbone? So, who has an issue like this? What can you do about it? Well, we suggest a process called mirroring. Become a little bit more like the other person. Don't be fake or phony, but meet them halfway. Let me give you an example. Let's say Dilbert, our analytical, was going to have an encounter with our associator, Jim Carrey. What could they do if they wanted to make that a success? Well, Dilbert get a life if that's possible, and Carrey get toned down if that's possible. Means somewhere in the middle. In other words, if they start talking slow, you start talking slow. If they cross their arms, you cross your arms. Of course, you may think, won't they think I'm making fun of them? No, they'll just say, there's something I like about that, Jackie, I just can't quite put my finger on it. What's the golden rule? Although the administrators have their own version, them who's got the goal makes the rules. But this actually begs something called the platinum rule. The platinum rule. Do unto others the way they would like to be done unto. All right. Well, you can go back to your regular seats unless you really enjoy sitting with the people you're with.